Hey Trent, how you doing?
Hey Trevor, doing well. Yourself?
Oh, doing fantastic. Better now that I'm here with you.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. I always look forward to these days. I like, for y'all that don't know, we film on Wednesdays. So I look forward to it because I spend, as a realtor, you don't always come into the offices and whatnot. As a LO, you come in every day. Of course, you're the team lead.
Yeah.
A lot of LOs don't, depending on the company and the, where you're working, what offices you have available to you and whatnot. But once a week is all I make. I'd like to get a real estate office going and have that somewhere close to the mortgage office, like down the road, and then have that for a space for my realtors to come into. But I just don't need it. It's just, it'd be too much money for
not the ROI you need.
Yeah. Like brick and mortar for realtors just isn't a big thing right now.
Yeah. Plus, too, it's probably easier to just do what you need to do at home. Unless you need to have the biggest thing I get from going to the office is like hearing different conversations, idea flow, and that kind of thing. So like I could see where, hey, if the agents aren't needing that, they're not needing a constructive thing to take and put me in the office so I can focus better, then really it just doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah, and there's good and bad about the office too. Like there's motivation, there's people working and stuff, but there's also a lot of people where you could just end up BSing and talking, but sometimes that can be really good because then you could talk about programs that, or something that's available that we hadn't been talking about before.
Right.
And so that is kind of important,
Yeah. Or, hey, I got somebody qualified this way. That's the thing too. So I was talking the other day with one of my loan officers, and he's been, trying to get in touch with people. He's doing the cold calling thing, seeing who needs to better their mortgage situation, right? Say, hey, you're an agent. I see you work with a lot of clients. I just want to help you close more deals. And he said a lot of these top agents are focusing just on conventional. So it's really kind of a way to look at it like, wow, I wouldn't have thought about it that way too, because as a broker, I forget sometimes that 76% of the loans are done by retail, which is just your conventional FHA, VA.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say retail, you mean the retail lenders. So that doesn't, but the brokers that do the conventional FHA and VA are still in our 24% or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So there's brokers that do the conventional, and we can do anything. It's just that it's weird to see that, oh my gosh, some of these agents, only have done conventional for transactions. So it could be valuable if you have a little bit of connection for real estate agents at the office, and somebody's talking about like, yeah, I just got this deal done. I thought it wasn't going to be a thing because he was a business owner. He owned a restaurant, and everything he made, he wrote off.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, we unlocked $50,000 of income per month by using bank statements. So it goes, wait a minute. Bank statements? Well, I don't know. You can't get that way on a conventional loan.
Even though a bank statement loan is technically a conventional, is it? It's a non-conforming conventional?
It's non-conforming. Yeah, it's kind of conventional-ish. Like it'd be acceptable. I'm sure if somebody said, hey, I'm doing a bank statement, even though, acceptable terms are cash or conventional, it would be acceptable for getting an offer in and done to get the deal done versus it's not like you guys put non-QM on the MLS.
Correct, we don't.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what that is.
Right, nobody knows what that is.
As a realtor, they're just like, wait, what?
You accept non-QM here?
Yeah.
What?
Sure, we accept whatever.
Yeah.
Is that a check? Or is that,
Yeah.
Or is that wire? I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with the last crash. Retail lenders just buried brokers. They blamed it all on brokers, and we're still digging out of that because up until that point, I think it was closer to like 30 or 35% of loans were done by brokers back then. And then after that, it was something like only 10% or something like that was done by brokers for a long time.
It started to build back up. I think it just created such a stigma that, brokers cause problems. Brokers did this.
Because it's the non-qualifying.
Right. It's all that subprime that they got rid of. It's gone.
Subprime, adjustable rates, all that stuff, which there still is a lot of adjustable rates, but they're specific type of loans for specific type of people.
Yeah.
So not just everybody qualifying for an adjustable rate, like what was happening before.
Right. It was weird. I had somebody ask me about, they wanted specifically an adjustable rate on a DSCR loan, so debt service coverage ratio. Like that's their biggest thing. They're like, I want an ARM. But I was looking at it for their lender that offers it in the particular qualifier that they need. The fixed rate was better. I was like, why do you want the ARM? Like, do you need an ARM? Like, do you think it's going to be magically that much better? Like,
so, I mean, was there thought that the first 5 years or whatever, it would be a better rate? Is that
was the thought process? Yeah. When I matched it out, it was an eighth better on the fixed rate versus the ARM. So I was like, why do you want the ARM? What's important about this to you?
See, I never understood that stuff. I remember the last house I bought, I was like, we were thinking, we were like, hey, should we go with a 15-year loan? And the interest rate was like, I don't know, 0.15 higher than the 30-year. And I was like, why?
That's weird.
Yeah.
Normally it's the opposite.
Yeah. Granted, we were buying it as a second home, so I don't know if that has something to do with that.
Could have been. Yeah.
But we were like, what? Like, doesn't make any sense. But anyways, it was like, we may as well just go 30-year. Because it just, it makes more sense that way. So,
and when you get a surplus of cash, you can just pay that thing down like a 15 anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's, so, yeah, that's good knowledge right there. I mean, and I do think you're right. I think most realtors, most people in general, they go for the low hanging fruit. People that know they can qualify for an easy FHA and they don't really investigate and try to expand their business on trying to figure out other stuff.
Right.
That's literally what I think makes a good realtor is creativity. Like how creative can you get with the deal? How creative can you get with negotiating? How creative can you get with financing? It's just all these different things that come into play. And I think most of the time people see it as we can make an offer. You're pre-approved for this.
Yep.
And that's all and that's not the case.
No. It's not. There's lots of finding solutions and figuring out things to get it done.
Especially nowadays, because buyers are, there's less buyers. So the buyers that are in the market, we're fighting, make sure they get approved, that they know what they're doing, that is going their way. So yeah, I feel like you're right. Most people just go with that, that easy stuff.
Yep.
So,
and the best part is you don't really have to necessarily understand it just to be able to ask about it. Like, okay, my person is self-employed. Is bank statement better? Like, could they get more house?
Yeah.
Possibly. Yes, they have to do more down payment, but if they are going to do a bigger down payment, anyway, then you're in a good spot. You get a deal done instead of trying to be like, well, you can't afford anything.
Yeah, and there's something that 14% of the people that buy houses are technically not in the market, meaning that they weren't really looking for a house. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe somebody told them they couldn't get a pre-approved, even though they really could, or something. And so when they end up buying, it's the circumstances were right for them. Either what happens a lot is somebody like their sister or brother or a good friend of theirs in a different subdivision. They're like, hey, this home opened. It's available 3 houses down. Maybe you should move into the subdivision.
Right.
And that's usually what sparks somebody that's off market. But then a lot of times they'll look into a loan program. If it doesn't work out right, or if they
get discouraged quickly.
Exactly.
It's not.
They're doing this minimum searching type thing. And if it's meant to be, I can't stand that word or that phrase. If it's meant to be, you're going to work hard for it.
Right.
Like everything in life that's good and great it was that you received because you worked hard for it. Nothing's given for free,
Right.
So, my wife's calling me. I'll have to call her back after this. So that's the way I feel about things. I just feel like if you have to work harder for it, it's going to be a bigger sense of accomplishment anyways.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So what's one thing it's driving you nuts about Florida right now?
driving me nuts about Florida right now. Man, I would probably say that it can't make up its mind about the weather. It's supposed to be nicer a lot, and we had a bunch of cold sprees. They're like, hey, it's getting better, and nope, it's back to cold, back to cold. Honestly, though, I got to break out some hoodies.
I feel like, though, that's something you can't do anything about, though.
Yeah.
And it's kind of everywhere. Like, what's something, if you could do something about it, that you would change about Florida? Like, let me give you my example. Like, for me, infrastructure is like, I just feel like they're behind the 8 ball on everything. They're always trying to catch up. They're never ahead of the game. Like, I see a problem. I'm like, where I live, I'm like, okay, I see a problem here. There's going to be a major problem here in the next year or so. We could do something about it now, or we can wait till it's actually a big problem. And what I see is Florida tends to wait till it's a problem, and then they try to solve the problem rather than being proactive. And so traffic is a huge thing for me.
Traffic's a big deal. I think that where I'm at now, it's kind of easier to get, but then it bottlenecks at a certain point, and all these people come out, and it's like, oh, now I'm sitting in traffic for extra time when maybe the infrastructure was built up a little bit better. This wouldn't have been a thing. I know where I used to come from, coming to the office, like it was like, hey, getting on like Turnpike to I-4, sometimes school zones.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that needs to change. Like, I see people line up for like ever to pick up their kids from school. Like, somebody was telling me, they're like, yeah, I wait for an hour before they get out just to have that better spot to be able to pick up my kid in time.
Yeah, who has time for that?
I know, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, what are you?
And it's not just the pickup; it's the drop off too.
Yeah, I see it. It just backs everything up. I know where I was at in my community. It could take 30 minutes to get to the Turnpike just based on where the timing of the school zones. So you have to wait or go super early to avoid it.
Yeah, that was my battle this morning, was going up Narcoossee, and it's like, I don't know why they can't figure out how to just make the lines, like the waiting lines and everything, or just have a whole separate line. They got this giant grass field in between the 2 lanes and stuff. It's like, you can't create a giant row for just people going to school in this middle section.
Right.
Like, it's easily solvable, you know? And yeah, no, I'm with you. So, and then when I pick my kids up, usually Jessica picks up the kids, but if I go down, they're in Kissimmee at a private school, all of them. And when we drive back, if I follow on wait, no, it's not 417, it's 192 on the way back, what happens is the school buses stop on those 8-lane, roads. 4 lanes going this way. Well, when that bus stops, all 4 lanes have to stop. And they spend 10, 15 minutes getting every single, kindergartner off individually. Yeah. Have their parents walk up, grab their kid. And it's like, I get it, they're young kids and stuff, but why couldn't the bus just pull off, not stop that giant
have its own like departure zone or
exactly
something. Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense why they're always stopping on the major roads and the major highways and major intersections. Like, you're right, the buses and the schools are a major problem, they always build them on the busy roads, and it's like, you guys didn't think this was going to be a problem?
They were probably like, it's easy to get to. Oh, it's right off a major road, it's easy to get to our high school, easy to get to this or that.
Yeah, but you can tell that it's a major issue because in summer, that traffic is way lighter.
Oh, yeah.
Without the schools.
You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, you're like, hey, this is wonderful. And then as soon as school's back in session, you're like, okay, here we go.
This is terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave early. I'm going to have to, get home late and all this stuff. And it's like, so I think that's a major pet peeve for me. The other thing, too, is sometimes I always run my maps no matter where I'm going because traffic, accidents, whatever, it'll change me to whatever's the most optimum.
Yep, go this way, get off on here instead, and then take this road. And you're
exactly. But sometimes I run it on no tolls, or I'll have that option available. But it's getting, over the years, it's getting harder and harder to travel places without tolls.
Yeah, it is hard to do that. And I do know sometimes, like, I'll pay attention, I'll look, and if I'm not in like a hurry, I'll look at this and be like, wait a minute. this toll system that I have to run is going to be $5 and I'm going to save 10 minutes.
Right.
I think we'll enjoy some back roads.
That's a big reason why I never go in the express lane, because I'm like, okay, it literally is about 10 minutes usually. Actually this morning I went in the express lane coming from the turnpike I-4, because I-4 was so backed up. And as I'm driving in the express lane, which was also backed up, we were at least going 40 miles an hour. Everybody else wasn't moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't need to be here. I could have just sat in that traffic, but there's something in my head that's like, well, for one, I had to go to the restroom. So I was like, I gotta go pee. I can't sit in traffic for an hour, know. I'll turn into a trucker and just go in a bottle.
Well, it's better for you not to sit in traffic. Actually, like sitting in traffic increases your cortisol. So it increases stress.
Anxiety.
Yeah, stress and anxiety if it's sitting in traffic. So it is way better for your health to pay to go on the expressway.
Yeah.
To get out express lane, get out of there.
Yeah. I felt like it was worth it today. I'm driving by and I'm still, like I said, I was only going 35, 40 and a 60, but I was moving.
Yeah.
And
versus the parking lot.
Yeah, there's something in your head.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the movie Office Space when he's stuck in traffic at the very beginning, and then the guy on the walker is just passing him.
Yeah.
Walking down the
yeah.
And I'm like, that literally. And I don't know if it's being a guy or if it's just me, but I'm so competitive with things. So when I see people like passing me and going places a lot faster, I'm like, they're beating me in life.
Right? Zipping along.
Yeah. But that's what goes through my head, and it's a problem. It's a real. I've had to give myself pep talks because I'm like, I enjoy book on tapes. I enjoy podcasts. Why don't I enjoy just sitting here listening to them?
Right. I think it's a cadence though. Sometimes I can listen to certain ones that I'm like, if it's a good upbeat one that I'm listening to in particular, then I'm fine sitting through traffic. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm bored now, a little bit.
It's partially it, but that's why I don't listen to music anymore too. Because if I'm sitting in traffic and I'm listening to music, it's not soothing.
Yeah.
It feels like I have to be moving with stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
Whereas like if I'm listening to something and I'm sitting still, I can actually it feels like when you're here and you're doing stuff anyways, you're naturally going to be sitting anyways. Yeah. Ready to be taken in content or whatever. And so for me, that it is easier to listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So, but that is a huge thing is the tolls, and we traded our van in about 3 months ago, and Jessica didn't realize that you still have to get the new thing for the Sun Pass or whatever.
Oh.
And so we're driving around with this van without the Sun Pass is our little thing that gives us a discount to go through the tolls, and it keeps track of us. So it doesn't, because no matter what, I don't care if you're renting a vehicle, if you have a vehicle from a different state, if you go through the tolls, you will get something in the mail. They will track you down.
Yes, they'll find you.
If it's a rental car, it doesn't matter. They will track down who it is, and you will get something in your mail, and they will want your money. And it'll be a lot more expensive than if you were to sign up with the Sun Pass. So if you sign up as a Sun Pass, even as a visitor, actually, because Sun Pass is a nationwide thing, they work with other companies or whatever.
Yeah, they have a whole network now.
Yeah, a network. Yeah, so even a different state can come and sign up in our state and still get the discounts or whatever, because it's easier to track them. They don't have to actually go back and look at footage and then send. So anyways, they're willing to give you a discount if you just, if you have the
follow
Sun Pass,
the system.
Follow the system. So make sure you get your Sun Pass. But we didn't have our Sun Pass. And when we got the bill, they tracked us down and we got the bill. It was like, oh my gosh, it was like 300 something bucks or something, like ridiculous.
Oof.
So we talked to them on the phone and got down to like 150 bucks or whatever. But it was one of those things. It was like, you got to make sure, especially us Floridians are living in this area. You get outside of the metro areas, you get into the smaller towns. They don't have the tolls and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're building it though, because like here with needing like evacuation routes, they are building it to be more convenient. Even with like a small town, like when you need to get somewhere in particular, you got to get on the tollway to get there more convenient. They are making it more accessible to everybody. So you do get hit with it. You're like, all right, it's 15 minutes longer to not take the tolls sometimes.
Correct.
So they'll build it that way because they want to build all these nice passages for people to evacuate if like the hurricane comes through.
What a bunch of crap. I'm sorry. That's a bunch of crap, just like property taxes. Like all this stuff can just be conjured.
Do you think they would do that though if they like if they do away with the property tax like we were talking about last time? Do you think that they would increase tolls?
Probably.
As part of it? So the rest frequent flyers be like, oh, great, no property taxes.
Yeah, I mean, so I got mixed feelings with all this stuff because I think part of the problem with property taxes isn't the fact that we have property taxes. It's the fact that property taxes are so high because there's so much government bloat. So I don't think the money's going to what it should be going to. And even if it is, I don't think they're getting the right contracts for the cheapest, pricing. Or even I look at St. Cloud, they redid their downtown streets and they went with a slightly more expensive company, and then the company's trash. And a year or two later, the cobblestone, because they had it redone, cobblestone, it started to sink in parts and stuff. We're having issues. And it's like, that company was somebody's buddy.
Yep.
To pay more and get crappier, work, that was somebody's buddy.
Yeah. I remember that. It took forever to get it done. And then they were like, now we're having, issues. I was like, well, was it all worth it? Why don't you just do like what some of the other towns do? Pay more for one street and be like the last cobblestone street instead of the entire downtown to have to redo it, right? It just makes it more iconic too.
That's a valid point. I mean, really, they only had about 3 blocks though. And it is kind of like, I love the St. Cloud downtown. If you guys haven't been there, it's like an old style downtown. They got the cobblestones, you got the stores that you can go into and stuff. I think it's a fantastic down. I love it. But and I was fine with that. I just felt like when they were explaining that they were going to be hiring somebody more expensive, and then
the lower quality,
is so crappy, and we're having such problems. I'm just in my head. I'm just like, man, I just picture like in these Senate hearings that they're having lately, and they're just like, so you paid $95,000 for a toilet seat, It reminds me of the Independence Day, movie, and they're like, yeah, well, I mean, it's a good toilet seat,
right?
It's dude, there's no excuses for this crap.
No excuses. That honestly too, like it kind of makes me think of not to throw them consistently under the bus, but it kind of makes me think of retail lenders. When it comes to you're paying more.
We're just like, bam, 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 retail lenders.
Getting more service, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not calling retail lenders on nights and weekends, like you said. I'm not getting the best quality service. I'm not getting the best rates and terms and products available to help me qualify properly. That's what retail is.
Right.
You pay more. I mean, honestly, people who use brokers save on average $11,000 now.
I didn't know that, but that actually kind of makes sense. The other thing is who you're supporting. Like, no offense, there are people working at these retail lenders and stuff, but they're typically hourly or salary or something like that. They have no invested interest in it getting to the finish line or being available on nights and weekends or working extra hard for it or anything like that. They're still going to get their paycheck or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you're supporting a broker, you can look you in the eyes, you can look me in the eyes, you can figure out that yes, we are commission based. We're going to be working extra hard for you. And these are a picture of my kids. These are what my kids look like. This is where you're paid. This is what you're going.
That's what you're supporting.
You're
helping.
Yeah. And it's a fair deal. We're going to shake hands at the end, thank each other for each other's services, and it's going to be fantastic.
Right.
And I helped your family out, and you helped my family out.
Exactly.
And I don't feel like you get the same feeling at a retail lender.
No, and I mean, there are some that are still commission based,
Yeah.
But honestly, they're not compensated as fairly as like brokers are.
Yeah.
And that kind of drags down the service level. Or two, it's funny because I've talked to some of them and they're impressed with, how well, brokers can do on files. But like also too, like, well, wait a minute, if I'm going to go broker and you can tell me that you can get me this comp plan, what do I have to sell? Right. Because retail lenders, they don't have like wholesale like we do. So if somebody's going to make more as a retail lender, they honestly have to now sell higher rates. Yeah. That is some of the bloat that you were talking about. That's interesting. Goes into their rates that the clients don't see. They think, oh, I'm working with this giant national chain, which is going to serve my benefit. Yeah. It really doesn't.
No, and most of the money that they're making off the loans are going to the investors in the bank. It's
the CEO,
the like
sales lead.
Right.
There's so many people who we talk about basis points when it comes to like compensation, so it gets built in, right? The CEO gets 5 to 15 basis points on every file in those, or like the sales manager, then the branch manager, and then this person, and so like there's so many layers.
Yeah. Everybody with their hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah, right.
So.
And that's why like retail is suffering, but as brokers, it's very clean to what we get. We're transparent, with what we get. And
well, it's not just a transaction. Like I feel like that's all you get with that is it's strictly a transaction. This is more relational.
Yes.
It's and you do feel that the person is fighting. And you can call me at 6 or 7 at night upset about something, and I'm like, oh, let me get this figured out. I didn't see, or whatever. You can't do that with retail lending.
Right. And the other thing too is sometimes it's taking off the loan officer hat and putting on the therapy hat. All right, let's get through this together. Yeah. And it's not to say that there aren't retail lenders that won't do that, but they're not going to go to the same extent to get it done.
True. It's true. Like closing, helping. I don't want to say this bad because most of you guys are clients, but closing a client takes a good relationship, takes rapport and whatnot. And when you have that with a broker and the broker is willing to help close the client, because a lot of people, this is the largest purchase for most people.
Exactly.
So, a lot of trust, there's a lot of trust involved, so I think having a broker that's willing to build that trust with the client as well is invaluable for a realtor, but as well as for the client. And
I would rather be more of service and build that relationship than it just be a transaction.
Right.
It's just better for everybody.
Yeah. And a transaction doesn't get you more deals. It's that one deal. Everybody feels, okay, thanks, made money, whatever. It's not that, transcending thing that's going to get you more business or going to make them extra happy or we're going to make them want to come back to you for a refi or all that things.
Right.
So, and I think that's huge.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So if there are any retail lenders out there that are listening in on this, like, well, yeah, that is kind of how it is for me. Hit us up if you want to find out what it's truly like to be a broker. It's not what your manager is scaring you into, saying that it's terrible and all that and we're ruining the world. Is actually pretty amazing. Yeah.
I will say if you're looking to just sit in a cubicle and stuff, you better go to retail lending.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah. You don't have fun sets like this in retail.
But yes, if you're looking to build a business, I think being a broker is where it's at.
100%.
So yeah, listen, my phone is blowing up, so I kind of have to get going on this podcast.
Sure.
But I had a good time on this one. This was fun. So thanks, Trent.
Thanks, Trevor.
All right. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
See you in the next one.